Hey guys, it's Chandler, and welcome to the Healing Heroes.
I promise you.
I'm Chandler Stroud, an executive, wife, and busy mom of two, who after years of living with anxiety, health struggles, and an unshakable feeling like I should be happier, made a profound discovery that changed everything. Join me on a journey where unexpected paths lead to healing and more happiness. On this show, we'll explore unconventional ways to unlock more joy in your own life with the help of my very own healers and trusted advisors, the Healing Heroes. Hey everyone, I am so excited for this conversation, not only because astrology has always fascinated me and been a passion area of mine for as long as I can remember, but also because I've been following today's healing hero since I was in college and have continued to read her horoscopes and buy her books well into adulthood. You can only imagine my excitement when I eventually got the chance to meet her in person, and today have the pleasure of working with her on this show. You guys are going to get so much out of today's conversation, whether you read your horoscope daily and know your rising and moon signs well, or you're the person who maybe knows your sign but doesn't think about it very often. Or perhaps you're even the skeptic who has historically asked, what's the point? Well, today, we're going to share 3 surprising ways astrology can help you navigate your own life and even help you connect with yourself and others in more meaningful ways if you let it. This is going to be a good one, guys. So let's jump in. First, let me tell you a little bit more about Ophira and her work. Ophira Edut is one of the most sought after astrologers and intuitive advisors of our time. As the longtime resident astrologer for ELLE and author of over 20 books, she is a private advisor to a roster of CEOs, celebrities, global leaders, and successful entrepreneurs. Her productivity training has been presented to entrepreneurs and executives at companies like Nike and Saks Fifth Avenue, and she's spoken at universities, conferences, and events for the past 20 years. On television, Ophira has appeared as a guest expert for Bravo, MTV, Good Morning America, and The Today Show, and created the first streaming reality TV dating show based on astrology, Cosmic Love, which you can find on Amazon Prime Video. Ophira's book, The Astrology Advantage, to be published by Simon & Schuster in August of 24, get excited guys, introduces the Astro Twins' revolutionary IAM System, which simplifies the birth chart into 3 archetypes: innovator, authority, and maven. Her work on the subject of spiritual technology as an essential tool for business success has been featured in Fast Company and at leadership conferences around the world. Well, today, guys, she's here with us, and I feel so fortunate to have the opportunity for all of us to learn from her and the great work she's doing. Welcome, Ophira.
Hi, thank you.
Well, obviously very excited to have you here. Thank you for taking the time. And I know we have so much to cover, but first, I'd love to start at the beginning and just break down the basics for those tuning in. How would you explain astrology and what you do to someone who's a little bit less familiar with it?
Astrology is essentially the instruction manual that every human being comes with, even though they tell us that we don't. There's actually a blueprint. There's a code. It's based on where the planets were overhead at your moment of birth in relation to where you were on Earth. And if you were to take sort of like a screenshot of the sky overhead at your exact minute of birth, that pattern provides a roadmap to your life, your strengths, your challenges, your potential. You always have free will, but it's like the GPS that you came with. Like astrology works in 2 ways. There's the you astrology, which is your chart, your sign, and there's the out in the world astrology, the transits as they call it, which is the predictive part. You can use astrology as a roadmap to you and understanding your psyche and intentions and motives and triggers and drivers, Or you can also use it to know, like, it's like a cosmic weather channel. Like, what is happening out in the world? What am I walking into? What are the planets? How are they playing with each other today? And what energy is that creating? Because is it going to rain? Is it going to be sunny? Is it going to be warm? Is it going to be hail? And it's kind of the equivalent of that. We say there's horoscopes and then there's astrology. Horoscopes are the day-to-day predictions, or month-to-month or week-to-week or whatever. And those are really helpful too, because it helps you prepare and know, all right, maybe this isn't the day to record a podcast if Mercury is retrograde, for example.
True story, guys. I love the concept of having an instruction manual at birth. I think I believe that and how I use astrology in my horoscope, but really cool way of thinking about it for somebody who maybe hasn't considered astrology to play that role in their life.
Yeah. I mean, when I discovered astrology, I was in my 20s early. And it wasn't like, oh, I never knew this. Now I will just start acting like a Sagittarius. It blew my mind because I was like, how does it know this about me? I've been going through my life doing all these things. And this, it was a 30-page report that I started with, has said things that are so true and accurate about who I've been, who I want to be, natural abilities that I have. Like, it's too weird of a coincidence to be a coincidence.
Yes, I have felt that as well. Diving deep into the Aries sign, go fire signs, which is one of the ways we connected, even because we are fellow fire signs, which, I mean, fire signs love meeting other fire signs. Let's get real.
Yes, we do. Because they're like, you get me. And that's another great thing about astrology, too. It's like, it's the ultimate icebreaker.
Yes, it is. I've used it at work. I've used it in friend groups. I mean, there's so many use cases, which we'll get into. So let's keep going. I'm curious, what are the various reasons someone might reach out to you for guidance or help?
So someone would reach out to me because they've reached a point in a problem or situation or circumstance where they're afraid to make a decision because there's so much wrapped up in it. The average person makes over 35,000 decisions a day, according to a Harvard Business Review article I read. And you can get paralyzed in the fear of making a wrong decision. It's not like we just make a decision and it affects us. It can affect our families, our partners, our jobs, the rest of our day. Life is so busy and complex and multi-layered that people literally can't afford to not make certain decisions, but then they also can't afford to make the wrong ones. So most people who reach out to me are at a crossroads. They're intelligent, they're capable, they're competent. And that makes it even worse for them because a lot of the times they're feeling like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I figure this out myself? And when they get the idea that there's maybe a reason bigger than them that also could provide answers and guidance, there's a sense of relief. And they give themselves permission to ask for help and support. It takes the shame out of it, the stigma, the judgment of themselves. Okay, great. I need this guidance system. I can give it up to the universe. I can hand the keys over there. And I'm always really glad when they do, because you see what they don't even realize how much of a burden they've been carrying by trying to keep this all in their heads.
Yeah, I imagine. I know you've worked with executives, CEOs of companies, to your point, really confident, driven, ambitious people who are maybe in most cases not used to seeking advice day to day in the way of personal matters, for example. What sort of problems do you feel like you've seen astrology help people navigate?
Simple problems about the timing for when to take a trip or a vacation, to fertility and getting pregnant. Even people who've struggled with fertility, I've been able to tell them timing, career moves, and also one of my executives, a lot of executives actually are open to coaching. I think at a certain point, There are those that aren't and that are still old school, but a lot of modern executives and successful people, they have coaches and they do corporate trainings, and they've done like the Myers-Briggs or the Gallup Strength Finder, or personality tests and assessments. So, and they have done some form of manifesting or had some kind of amazing coincidence in their life that opened doors for them. So they know there's some spiritual technology out there I'm tapping into. But a lot of the time, their problems are interpersonal, working with other people. They're often managing people, or they have someone who's also powerful on their team. So they can't just make decisions in their lives without it impacting someone else. And they have someone who's equally in the power seat. I actually use astrology to help them understand what it is that they really need to feel fulfilled and like they can make an impact. And I do that with families too, and relationships. At a certain point, familiarity breeds contempt. So when you live with someone, work with someone, drop them off at soccer practice enough times, there's going to come a day that they get on your last damn nerve. So that's where the real work starts in our relationships. We all have our Instagram perfect wedding or graduation or party pictures, first date, like once that honeymoon is over, you really need some extra tools.
That I love thinking about it as a toolkit, and especially spiritual technology. I think that's a very cool way of thinking about it in how to navigate those tougher relationships or even those familial relationships with long-rooted dynamics. One basic question, going back to how you described astrology and how you use it to guide people, how is it that so much can be dictated by where the planets are in the sky when we're born?
I wish I could really answer that with authority. There are some people think we're aliens and that's our cosmic code. I personally believe in past lives and Akashic records, and that your soul progresses through many lifetimes. I was really influenced by the book Many Lives, Many Masters by a hyper-skeptical psychiatrist who regressed someone through hypnosis and they remembered past lives. And so, there's a lot of evidence out there. So I personally think that our soul picks an exact moment to be born where we will get the precise kind of map or game plan, where we'll be challenged in the exact ways that we need to evolve. There's a branch of astrology called evolutionary astrology. One of my mentors and friends, Stephen Forrest. And the idea is you have free will, but you're given this perfect chart to challenge you. You get this map, you get these gifts that you come in with, but life will throw you a circumstance. And the free will part is, if you're an Aries, one of your challenges to transmute maybe anger and frustration and impatience. Same for me as a fire sign, as a Sagittarius. So I'm given a circumstance that brings that up for me. And my natural Sagittarius reaction, or your Aries one, might be to be pissed off. We were trying to set up my microphone and I got frustrated with myself. My go-to response is usually impatience and frustration. But when I understand that I've been given an assignment to transform that as a Sagittarius, like I can watch myself, I can catch myself getting impatient and frustrated and be like, okay, what other choice could I make? I know that that's my first response, but that may not be my best one. So you're given a spiritual mission by your birth chart too, as well as talent. I also know that being a fire sign and very quick to respond can be great in certain situations. I make opportunities happen quickly. Give me something, I'm going to try it. I'm going to take the risk. So we all have a spectrum of, you could say, positive and negative ways that we express our zodiac sign in our chart. And life is a game. How well are you going to play it? That's my philosophy on it.
I love that philosophy. I really do. And what you said about souls being intentional about how they come into this world, the circumstances in which they come in, the timing. I will talk a lot about that, I think, throughout other episodes of the podcast as well. So the concept of choosing the time based on where the stars are in the sky to give you the gifts you need and the challenges you need to overcome to grow is a very cool concept, I think. That resonates personally because as an Aries, I know I'm great at starting things, really good at starting things, not so good at the follow through. And this is one way that knowing my sign and my natural inclination has been really helpful in my life because I can stop and say, well, hold on, Chandler, are you giving up on this project or this passion area because it's really that hard? Or are you just doing what you always do, which is you're excited at the beginning and then it sort of fizzles out? Let's finish what we start and really stay with it. And it helps me grow in that way and be aware of my shortcomings and where I have opportunities to do things differently that don't always come as naturally to me. So I loved that example you gave.
Exactly. Or maybe another sign is really good at doing that follow through. There are plenty of them, you know. The earth signs love to do follow through. And so you delegate. Aries are masterful delegators too, and actually really good at encouraging people. So there are all kinds of ways, once you know this, that you can design that work for you. Maybe you do challenge yourself and push through, but maybe you also get a team and play to their strength. But what's amazing is that once you do know your chart or your sign, it's like, oh, it's like you've had this piece of equipment that you didn't even know how to turn on because you never got the manual, or you were always using it the wrong way or underutilizing it.
I'd also be curious, based on what we've been chatting about up until this point, you gave examples of personal struggles, familial issues, but I know you've also worked with executives, CEOs, maybe in the professional sphere. How can astrology really help someone think about their career and getting ahead?
I think a lot of people start to doubt and second guess themselves, or they'll go into new situations, either bull in a china shop and get reprimanded and then pull back, or they'll go very hesitant and tentative, but they don't go in as their authentic selves in a balanced way to new situations. Our job is always to be evolving, and the world needs a lot more good leaders than it has. A lot of people have good intentions. You want to actually do something powerful and leave an impact and make a difference. And a lot of the times, people with that intention don't really get a chance to express that in their careers because they don't know which moves to make. So they become fearful. They start to avoid risk and avoid loss. They feel unsafe being who they really are. But when they stop being who they really are, they feel unfulfilled and lost and purposeless. So there's this big dilemma in our workforce. Everyone wants to get to bring their whole selves to work, but the culture feels unsafe to do that in. So I really love bringing astrology into organizations. Work needs a culture where individuality is celebrated and teamwork is actually fostered by systems like this one that let people be quirky, individual. They need to be more of who they are, not less, to thrive.
And to your point, I think if individuality and encouraging people to feel safe and be themselves at work is the end goal, then as leaders, understanding what your areas of strength are or encourages that kind of behavior can be so helpful.
I, as a Sagittarius, am naturally entrepreneurial and independent, and I need to be in a space where I'm inspired. In my own company now, we have what I call full-on versus full-time employees, and we really do work with people's signs and strengths and things that we know in their charts, and create a way that they can work that works best for them. My Aquarius art director needs to take a pottery class in the middle of the day and walk her dog, and then she comes back. Great. Please go do that if that means I get the best work out of you.
Switching gears a little bit, I know you co-own and operate your business with your twin sister. Can you tell us how you started practicing astrology?
Yeah, it was a little bit accidental. My college boyfriend got my chart done for me when I was 21 as a gift. And it was this 30-page document that knew so much about me that I thought the FBI had been watching me my entire life. So I was a skeptical but curious person. And a skeptic is not a cynic. A skeptic is like, well, let's see. I've got common sense, but I'm open. And I found a piece of software where I could do other people's charts, and I'd read what it meant out of a little book from the bookstore. And I'd be like, well, hot damn, this is true about everybody that I'm reading. And what is this thing? So I just did that as a hobby. And then I was working in media. Actually, at the job that I hated, I used to sneak off into one of the rooms where the freelancers worked and do little mini astrology readings for them. And one of them ended up going to Teen People magazine and invited me and my sister to be the columnists in, I think it was like 2001. I got an astrology job. It transported over there. And then someone asked me if I would do a reading for her professionally. She asked if I did them. I was like, I could. She's like, well, now you do. And she was my first client, and it just didn't stop. I was like, oh, I guess I do. Then I got invited to the Billboard Awards to do readings for celebrities. I did one for Beyonce. A little bit after that, Stevie Wonder. People are so hungry for validation, and as we should be. There is so much out there that makes us feel bad about ourselves. And astrology makes us feel like the things that we think are wrong with us are actually right. Like, I am designed perfectly in all my messy, complex, contradictory glory. It is okay to be me the way I am. Don't we all want to feel that way?
Yes. Yes, we do. I love how astrology found you. I mean, you did find it in college, but it became this source of passion for you and something that was maybe in the background until you were sort of called by those around you to do it full time.
Well, when I was in college, my twin sister and I actually started a magazine called Hues, and it was for all the women in the world who felt that they weren't represented in traditional magazines but loved glossy magazines, which was basically every woman. And it was very diverse and inclusive, and this was 1992, so there wasn't anything out there like it. And we did it with a group of very diverse women. We would get together and come up with fun article ideas, but we'd always start talking about astrology. And I noticed a shift. Like, talking about identity stuff can be tense and intense. And, you know, it's real, but it's like, it's raw. But as soon as we talked about astrology, it became a celebratory, joyful way of talking about differences. And I was like, wow, this is about the only thing I know where differences are fun, you know, and not polarizing. So, and it's always been that way.
That is so true. And such an aha for me, even because I had never thought about it as a way to truly encourage the celebration of differences. But that is exactly what it does.
Yeah.
It creates a safe way to talk about how people react or behave to different situations, a variety of different ways that's unique to the person.
I mean, it gives you an entry point sometimes into difficult conversations, or an out, or if you get triggered, you can, all right, I'm a Leo, my pride has been this, or I'm a Libra, this feels unfair to me. So it gives you a lens to try to understand the other person instead of being like, well, why aren't they reacting the way I would? What's wrong with them, or what's wrong with me?
What are the ways that astrology can help guide people and make a difference in a person's day-to-day life?
What people don't realize is that all day long, this little voice is talking to you in the back of your mind. And it's worrying, it's fretting, it's angsting over all these little micro decisions that are actually really big. I always say you can be awesome at 95% of the things you do and only struggle with 5%. But those 5% take up 95% of your emotional energy and bandwidth, because not having them done or not being able to figure them out can be so frustrating. Again, especially if you're a high functioning person, which most of us have to be in this world now. And most of my astrology people are. They're drawn to it because they want to have very optimized, full, fulfilling lives. They want to have it all. They want to have a great relationship. They want to have family. They want to have friends. They want to have dinner parties, festivals, concerts, vacations, kick butt at their careers, have enough money to do all the things they want to do. They want it all, whatever their version of all is. So what astrology can do is bring that 5% list of things into their awareness in a way that they can deal with it. What is bothering me? What is back there? How can I fix it, move it aside, and have it stop blocking me, slowing me down? So it's a really
Very cool.
It's an efficiency and productivity tool too.
I love that. You're basically saying it's a way for them to connect more deeply with themselves and really take inventory of how they're feeling and how they want to spend their time and tackle life's challenges.
Why is this bothering me? I know you're going to be talking to a lot of people about trauma, and you can see in your astrology chart where trauma may have impacted you. I had a client who had both Saturn and Pluto in her family house and in her mother house of her chart. The different 12 houses of the chart all represent different areas of life. We won't get into that here, but suffice to say, Saturn was showing that she might have challenges. Well, indeed, Dad passed away and her mother just struggles to be capable in her day-to-day life. So she feels burdened by that. And it goes back to some trauma in her childhood from when her dad had some mental health issues. You can trace it in the chart. You can see where that trauma is. And then by knowing what's going on in her chart, you could offer other prescriptions, other ways of dealing with that. You don't have to be traumatized for the rest of your life. You don't have to just feel burdened by your mom. Maybe they actually need to get a professional caregiver for her instead of playing that role yourself. This is just an example, but it gave that woman permission to do that because she was carrying all this daughter guilt, daughter shame, trauma from her childhood. She left home early because of all of it, so felt like she had to make up for that. These are the kind of things that are going on in people's minds, not just like, what should I have for lunch, or do these Lululemon leggings make my butt look good? You know, it's just like, we might be worrying about that too. But there's this network, this beehive of things we're worrying about like that. And until we looked at her chart, she didn't know she was carrying all that. She just was like, I'll complain about it to my friends later over a glass of wine, but I'll keep doing it. And that's just what it's going to be like until my mom dies. And that isn't an inspiring outlook for her or her mom or their relationship. So astrology actually gives you the opportunity to show someone that could be done another way. You don't have to suffer. Suffering is optional. So those are the kind of real conversations I get into very quickly. A lot of people will say, I feel like I just had 10 years of therapy after a chart reading, because you really can go there. And people give you permission to go there because there's a pathway in. So that's what I love about astrology. Setting people free so that they can go and do amazing things in the world we need them to.
I love the idea of that, of astrology setting people free from whatever chains have been holding them back, free to embrace the person they were meant to and want to be. I think I have experienced that myself, using astrology and specifically your readings as a tool for that in my own life, both in how I better understand myself and how I approach my day-to-day in the future. So that resonates really deeply for me. I really felt like we hit on three key themes throughout our conversation. One, this concept of spiritual technology and believing in something bigger than yourself. I think I said earlier on in our conversation that for a long time, astrology was my spirituality. It was the ability to believe that there was some higher power working behind the scenes to support me and guide me and help me through the challenges that I faced. So there's this concept of astrology being spiritual for some, including myself. Then I loved how you talked about how astrology helps you understand yourself and go deeper to reconnect with yourself in new ways and have an understanding of your strengths or areas of weakness that are opportunities for you to be aware of and embrace differently than you might otherwise not have. And then finally, this idea that astrology can help you navigate also your relationships with those around you, friends, family, coworkers, and colleagues. I love how you talk about bringing it into your own work day to day. So I think that's also a really cool aspect, and just 3 ways that people might not think about using astrology as a tool in their lives. I think this brings a whole deeper level to understanding it and really embracing it and using it in new ways that can give you an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really an honor to get to share this ancient, it's been around since the dawn of civilizations. Thank you for finding our work, and I'm so glad it resonated. I think the key for any healer is that the person comes into your space and finds your work, never feels shame or like there's something wrong with them or they're broken or they need to be fixed. You work, you figured it out. I know you have, because you're here and you're breathing and you're surviving. You have so many great things in your life. You personally, Chandler, and everyone listening, and anyone, no matter how bad their circumstances, you know how to do life, but you just need some support. And you've been shamed into believing that that's a weakness or a deficit. And that's what we have to change.
And that's what we are here to help do. So thank you. Do you have any suggestions for how people can start dabbling in astrology at home if they aren't ready to hire a professional for a one-on-one reading?
Yeah, there's so much to learn on your own. There are lots and lots of books. My website, astrostyle.com, has tons of free resources. You can do a free birth chart. You may know just your zodiac sign or sun sign, but actually you have a full chart. That's a map of where all the planets were. That's what really got me intrigued. I knew I was a Sagittarius, but when I got this chart, I found out that when I was born, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars were all in Scorpio, which is very different than Sagittarius. Sagittarius is big and out in the world and likes to inspire people. Yes, I do. But Scorpio is very private and internal, likes to figure out what's going on behind the scenes. And that is so who I was and am as well. That's what made me go, there is something here. So do a free birth chart on my website, or there's a lot of people have CoStar and other apps too, and start to learn about what it means. Learn more information, and then look at other people's. Get interested in other people. It's such a great lens. I say astrology can make boring topics interesting. You think history is boring or the news cycle, but you want to just look up that political leader's sun sign and learn why they are the way they are. More Scorpio and Aquarius U.S. presidents than any other sign, for example. Why? That makes history fun. And
if you want to graduate to the next level, you can buy Ophira's books, because they are my #1 favorite holiday gifting idea every year. Everyone loves them.
Absolutely. And please feel free to pre-order our book, The Astrology Advantage, or if you're listening to it after August 2024, order it. We have a bunch of exciting little bonuses for people that order it now. And that is a simple system that we created that takes your whole chart, makes it into 3 easy archetypes where you can already start using astrology to guide your life without having to learn the whole universe of it.
I, for one, will be very excited when that book comes out, and can't wait to dive in. And to those tuning in, if you liked today's discussion, please share it with friends and don't forget to subscribe. You can also visit healingheroespodcast.com to get resources, meet the heroes, and share your ideas for future episodes. Thanks for listening, everyone. And until next time, remember, be curious, be courageous, and be kind to yourself. You've got this.